Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us here today. First off, can you tell our viewers a little bit about your upcoming trip and maybe how it all came about?
Well, I'm planning to go to Rome at the end of September um, with a group that I helped co-found called Ending Clergy Abuse. It's an international organization that represents 28 countries who have been affected by obviously clergy abuse. And we plan to go to Rome. When the Pope came to Canada, I presented him with an empty box, asking him to put the residential school documents in there and to send it back to Canada where the documents belong. This is our history. Um, they don't belong in Rome.
Hmm.
So since he hasn't done that, I plan to go and ask him during a press conference to meet with me again and to hand over the documents.
Well, Evelyn, do you think you'll be able to get a meeting with the Pope? Is that maybe one part of the trip that you're hoping to do?
Yes, I would like a private meeting with him like I had here in Canada. And I just, want to know what the hesitation is, why, he's not sending these documents, to Canada and handing them over to the survivors so we will know our history. We will know the names of the people that are buried in these unmarked graves across Canada. These families that have, missing children that had gone to residential school deserve closure. Every human being deserves closure and to be able to move on with their life.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's, too big of a request to ask, you
Hmm.
know. Um, I don't know. Yeah, there's a few questions I would like to ask him, is like I'd like to know how many, bishops, priests, nuns were not brought to justice due to the cover up of the Vatican.
Hmm.
Because this is an epidemic that is happening around the world. It's not just in Canada, obviously, when I said that ECA represents 28 countries, So it's a global epidemic, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and if if clergy abuse is not, you know, um, handled, it's it it's just going to continue.
Hmm.
Somebody has to do something and say enough is enough, and this has to end, and you need to be held accountable. You can't go around, ruining our children's lives just because you belong to a religious institute. You know,
Yeah.
they've lost their moral compass, and and people like me and other survivors around the world need to put them back where the gauge belongs.
So, Evelyn, are you hoping this will put more pressure on the government and the Catholic Church to release the documents that both of the institutions hold?
Yes, Canada keeps saying that they don't have documents, but recently the former Indigenous Minister Mark Miller found another 200 boxes or 90,000 documents. So if the government doesn't have them, how does this minister find them? Like, has possession of them. So obviously, if he can find these documents, there are other documents elsewhere.
Hmm.
So, and I don't understand why, too, that the Canadian government released the Catholic Church from their obligations to pay $30 million to the residential school survivors for the healing that they, have done to our people. Um, the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement was signed, sealed, and sealed. They don't have Canada does not have the right to release these people. That's illegal. You know, you can't change a contract once it's signed and, you know, by all three parties. You can't go around and change it.
Well, Evelyn,
So they
will
had no right, you know, they had no right to release the Catholic Church.
Evelyn, we'll have to leave it there, but we certainly do appreciate you coming on and you know, sharing a bit of details about your trip with us. Safe travels, certainly. And again, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having me.